Chapter 6.
Time is a funny thing. Every day is technically the same length. It's the same 24 hours, the same 1,440 minutes, the same 86,400 seconds. Just 0.0035% of the average human life. So, how is it that something as consistent as time can seem to move so differently? The monotony of work, day in and day out, emails, calls, spreadsheets, and meetings can all pass in an instant. Weekend mornings that start with a brief Instagram scroll in bed can somehow segue right into dinner time when I realize I haven't even showered yet. Where did the day go? And then there are other days that seem to stretch on and on and on. The kinds of days where you look back and think, how was all of that packed into one day? Like when you're determined not to pay to check a suitcase, so you pack everything you need for a 6-week trip into every nook and cranny of your carry-on. And even though it's clear the suitcase will have to be gate-checked and the zipper is ready to burst, everything fits. You avoid the fee and have defied the laws of physics. Day 6 in Connor Creek was one of those days. Over the course of 24 hours, the town's focus shifted from low-grade political bickering to something far more volatile. Odie Doty, the beloved mailman, was discovered dead in the woods by Helen on a routine patrol the morning of the election. With another untimely death, politics were pushed far to the back of everyone's minds. Coupled with rumors of my run-in with a wolf-like creature the night before, the residents of Connor Creek now had only one thing on the mind: werewolf mania. From the American Podcasting Network, this is the Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. I'm Artemis Schue-Horyn.
And it's time to send me back to the Paleolithic era. I'm Paul Schue-Horyn, and that's a dinosaur joke.
At this point in our investigation into Connor Creek, things were not looking good. There was no denying that we had reached a crossroads in our journey.
Everything before this moment shall be labeled in the history books as Connor Creek B.O., before Odie, and everything after shall be called Connor Creek A.O., after Odie.
Odie's death was the tipping point. While the other deaths were no secret, the manner of Odie's demise ushered in a terror that hadn't touched the locals until now. We had hoped the election would give us some sort of closure, or at least a clue on how to move forward. But instead, no one seemed to care about the progress of our investigation anymore. Their only priority was protecting themselves and their homes from an unknown and unlikely threat.
I can't die! I have so much to live for, so many ingredients to try, dishes to invent, flavors to explore. I've never tried jackfruit.
Whoa, really? Jackfruit tacos are bomb.
Deep breaths, Quinn. This werewolf thing is still just speculation. Nothing has been proven. The best thing we can do is take a calm and measured approach.
I know more about measurement than anyone in this town. Anything more than a tablespoon of lemon zest could spoil an entire batch of chèvre. Oh God, my spoons. My puifer-cut cutlery set. I'll have to melt them down to make silver bullets, won't I? I got them as a culinary school graduation gift for myself. There'd be no point in serving my 18-course prefix menu without the puifer-cuts. I might as well serve microwaved corn dogs at a mall food court.
Hey, pull it together, man.
You're right. If I don't uphold the high standard of culinary excellence at the Dead Canary, then certainly no one else will. I'm trying to bring Connor Creek its first Michelin star, you know? And I can't do that if a werewolf kills me dead, now can I? I'd rather boil myself in a broth of my own bones than let this dive regress to the greasy spoon it used to be.
Emotions were intense and erratic.
Well, if we thought our sources were being cagey before, we weren't going to get anything useful out of them now with werewolf hysteria on the mind.
Hey, you can't tell us to stop. It's our constitutional right to have our voices heard.
I'm not trying to stop you. I just wanted to let you know that you spelled a word wrong on your picket sign.
I knew it. You spelled your wrong.
Ah, crap. Which version should it be? Y-O-U-apostrophe-I-E? Y-O-R-E? Oh, is it you?
Actually, it's not wolves. The plural is wolves, with a V.
Oh, what, now you're gonna tell me 2 geese is a duck?
Grammar aside, we kept trying to steer the conversation toward the impact of the election, but the topic had a way of circling back to werewolves.
Now, if there's one thing I've learned about this family of miners, they sure have an iron's will.
So, now that the mining expansion has been approved, things are looking up for you guys, right?
Not if the sheriff institutes a lockdown and tanks the economy first. Before that can happen, we gotta protest the wolves out of here. We don't want their business.
Yeah, especially when their business is eating us.
We just want to do an honest day's work in exchange for a decent paycheck so we can feel good about ourselves. And go home to our 1-bedroom cottage where we all sleep in one bed like the grandparents from Willy Wonka.
And we want to do all of that while not getting eaten.
But pushing forward with blinders on seems dangerous to you and everyone in the town.
Keeping the economy open is what's best for everyone. We can't make the werewolf think we're weak. And if a few more people must perish and sacrifice their soft, fleshy bodies for our town to come to its senses, I ain't mad about it.
Except me. I do not want them to eat me, and I cannot stress that enough.
Interesting that they think werewolves would consider business as usual a show of strength.
While the Irons seemed unconcerned about public safety, others were much more anxious about the danger lurking around every corner, ready to turn on their friends and neighbors if need be.
Take, for instance, the florists, Mary Jo and Ellis Walker. You're making some pretty bold accusations that some of your fellow townspeople here are literal monsters. How can you do that so flippantly?
Can you keep a secret?
You know we're recording this, right?
That's fine. So Ellis over here has been doing a little investigation of his own, gone fully deep throat and unearthed some pretty interesting stuff.
Sure did. Deep-throated as far as I could go.
Might even release his own podcast. Could end up being tough competition for you, too.
Oh, for sure. No, for sure. Not gonna promise I won't crush you in the podcasting charts, though. Unless, of course, you want to work out a deal.
I think we're good.
You'll want to keep an eye out for a package when I'm finished.
We received a cassette tape in the mail from Ellis, weeks after returning from Connor Creek, and this is what was on it.
A little disclaimer. APN Legal is requiring us to clarify that this next clip has not been verified for accuracy. APN is not responsible for its contents and should not be held liable for misinformation therein.
In a small town like this one, everyone knows everyone. But does anyone truly know everyone? When you have a bunch of unanswered questions floating around and you don't know who to believe, who are you going to call to sniff out the answers? That's right, the florist. Because we got deets, hot goss, the 411, and sometimes even the truth. And we can wrap them all up in a beautiful bouquet. These are the Ellis Files. Do 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 do. It's 7 p.m., the dead of night. I am here walking down Center Road. Not a soul is in sight. Anyone who is anyone is over at Town Hall right now. It is the perfect opportunity to do a mystery. At least one of our neighbors is secretly a murderous werewolf. And I am going to expose them. Okay, I'm just passing the Marionette Theater and Rita's funeral parlor and... Oh, wait, what is this? Oh, Rita is growing hemlock. The devil's weed. Trying to poison someone, are we? Yeah, that seems pretty damning and suspicious. This is definitely hemlock. Smooth green stem, small flowers that taste like licorice. Oh wait, this must be wild fennel, not hemlock. Okay, we can cross Rita off the list. For now. Okay, here's Agnes's travel agency when pigs fly. Lights are out, and the sign in the window says no shirt, no shoes, no problem. Gross. And suspicious. What's with all these unopened packages outside your door, Ags? What could she possibly be stocking up for? Unless she knows something that we don't. Sounds fragile. Says it's from something called Precious Moments, the porcelain cat figurine collection. Well, Ags is allegedly a cat person, and not a rabid, beastly dog person, but I've got my ags on you, Miss Florentine. What was that? Is someone approaching? Everyone should be at town hall. I think I've been compromised. Mary Jo, if you find this and I have perished, I have stowed the binder with instructions for my funeral arrangements under the register. I know you will want to create your own designs, but please respect my wishes. Oh, please make it quick. Vern? Why aren't you at the town hall?
Well, to be honest, I'm a bit put off by the mob mentality that's going around. Just wanted to take a walk and clear my head. Too much unfounded suspicion and finger-pointing. Seems to me like everyone's trying to capitalize on the pandemonium for their own personal gain.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
How about you?
Well, let me tell you about the Ellis files. It starts with me and a tape recorder, and it ends with me and a tape recorder.
It went on like that for a while.
It's worth mentioning that with the tape, Ellis included an invoice for a payment so large, he and Mary Jo probably could have remodeled and expanded their storefront twice over.
To be clear, in Connor Creek. In LA, that would have covered a couple months of their electric bill. Maybe.
And unsurprisingly, his tape didn't shed any new light on the case. Now, I'm not normally one to yuck someone's yum.
That's the kind of heavy lifting you normally leave to me.
But for being the town gossips, these florists sure were bad at it.
Everyone was processing werewolves in their own way. Picketing, snooping on their neighbors, or gearing up for the big town hall meeting where they'd try to figure out a unified course of action. And some folks were trying to subdue their panic by desperately sticking to their normal routines.
Yeah, sure I'm scared. Can't go about my day without every move I make seeming wolf-like. I seriously, do wolves run errands differently than people? How can you even tell? I just don't know what else to do besides what I've always done.
Olivia was trying to be sort of British about the whole situation. Keep calm and carry on. This is despite the owner of the gun depot, Riley, being vocally anti-werewolf and itching to hunt them down.
Riley is entitled to do or think what she wants. We may be BFFs, but I'm not responsible for her choices.
I just figured you'd be on the same page. It seems like the guns and ammo business is about to be booming.
This was perpetually perplexing to us. Olivia's ammo shop was a separate store than the gun depot run by Riley. These two businesses, that should have just been one, were run by two women who were also best friends and looked alike. Now, for Artie and I, twins who don't look alike, it was hard for us to process two women who looked like twins but weren't.
But if one of us is a wolf, would that change things between us? I couldn't even begin to process what that would mean for our relationship. I'd feel pretty betrayed if I was best friends with a wolf and didn't know it. That is, if a werewolf could even understand the concept of best friends.
While Olivia's position was one of existential crisis, others couldn't really land on an opinion. Here's Dr. Henry Edwards in his unofficial office, the bar of the Dead Canary.
This werewolf pandemonium is utter poppycock. It has no basis in scientific fact, only in mushy assumptions and feelings. That's why I don't like newcomers like you or those mining bigwigs poking your big city noses around and stirring up trouble. The folks here in Connor Creek are simple, gullible folk, and we don't need more of the outside world coming in here and confusing them.
6 minutes and 7 beers later, Dr. Edwards was singing a different tune.
Yeah, bring it on. The more the merrier. Bring on the miners, bring on the city slickers, your huddled masses yearning to be. Also, my practice could use more patience. I guess I could use more practice, too. I had to cut med school short when... I know, but what about the werewolf? Who cares? I don't. It's just more patience for me. If only that wolf can just not kill them, please! Thank you so very much. Close to death is fine, I guess. Like my best bud here, Paulio. And this is not the 14 beers talking. But, You guys are great. Paul is so fun and freewheeling, and Artemis is your sister. I'm glad he didn't die, because I love beer.
Regardless of where you stood, the pulse of the town had fundamentally changed.
And this werewolf bandwagon was unfortunately muddling the direction of our investigation.
But Paul and I still had something that everyone in Connor Creek had lost.
Their marbles?
Perspective. They were forgetting some indisputable facts.
That when paired with the statistic that 80% of murder victims know their killer,
meant that it was likely that who or what was behind these attacks was someone we had already met. And certainly someone the victims knew.
So let's recap that growing list. First up, Ryan Reynolds, our primary source, found mauled to death the night we arrived.
Then, after some digging into Ryan's murder, Prism, the town mystic, was killed.
I was also horribly injured that night, but hung on for dear life and made full recovery. Thank you very much.
And most recently, Odie Doty, the mail carrier, dead as well.
It was obvious that all the victims shared a common position. They were against the expansion of minor mole and outside industry.
All the pieces were now slotting into place and a pattern was forming. Clearly, the pro-mining camp was eliminating anyone who stood in their way. Our theory seemed airtight.
That is until the big town hall meeting the day after the election, where we witnessed something pretty gnarly. The locals were in the middle of a heated discussion regarding the nature of the attacks when roadside attractions promoter Barney Fletcher burst in, shouting incoherently.
What was unusual, however, was that he was bleeding profusely out of a brutal slash in his throat. And like the other victims, he died before providing any helpful information.
It was something I'll never forget. Barney lifeless on the floor, his prized dino egg cracked like the normal egg everyone always knew it was.
With Barney's death, our theory no longer held water. The man wanted nothing more than for the town's industry to rapidly expand, bringing more unwitting tourists to his hall of curiosities and wonders. Why would this person attack him when he was on their side?
Because it wasn't a person at all.
With our pattern disrupted and the town hell-bent on believing in werewolves, I finally decided to entertain the idea of a more paranormal influence.
As commenters on YouTube are wont to say, first...
Yes, Paul, you were ready to follow this lead before anyone else. You've made that abundantly clear.
Listen, I find no satisfaction in making valuable breakthroughs in this case, only to be dismissed like an amateur blogger.
Welcome to every day of being a woman, Paul.
Whoa, privilege checked.
Suddenly, an animal beast who did not discriminate based on politics seemed more and more plausible. And against my better judgment, I was forced to accept a new possibility. Maybe the werewolves were real. Next time on Wayward Guide.
Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today for the reading of the last will and testament of Barney Fletcher.
Wait, you're Reverend and a lawyer? Talk about WWJD.
Barney had requested that this reading be underscored by the David Matthews Band, but I'm not familiar with Mr. David or Mr. Matthews, so why don't we sing my favorite hymn instead? I bet it's yours as well. Please join in on page 59. I am no Superman. I have no answers for you. I am no hero, that's for sure. But I do know one thing. Where you are is where I belong.
Tin Can Brothers presents Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. Starring
Mary-Kate Wiles
and
Steve Zaragoza.
Written and directed by Corey Lubowich, Joey Richter, and Brian Rosenthal. Featuring
Corey Doris,
Kurt Mega,
Whitney Avalon,
Ryan Simpkins,
Ashley Clements,
Gabe Greenspan,
Clayton Snyder,
Tara Perry,
Carlos Valdez,
and
Sean Prasad.
original theme music, sound design, and mixing by Ears Up Sound Design. Executive producers Corey Lubowich, Joey Richter, and Brian Rosenthal, Paul Komorowski, and Greg Gibbons and April Morris. Go beyond the podcast and watch new episodes of the Wayward Guide Companion series on YouTube. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, visit waywardguideshow.com or follow Tin Can Bros on Instagram and Twitter.